Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that dominates in today's edition for Thursday, 28th August 2025, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister digs her heels in as she proceeds to support the U.S. move to send warships to Venezuela waters. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar responds to criticism on Venezuela's stance. Akash Samaru of CNC3 reports.
Amidst criticism over her stance on the ongoing tensions between Venezuela and the United States, the Prime Minister is unbothered and unapologetic. And while the Prime Minister has been accused of causing a fracture in CARICOM through her unilateral support of the presence of the U.S. Navy near Venezuelan waters, Persad-Bissessar said other CARICOM members stated their position even before her statement on Saturday. The Prime Minister told CNC3 News that CARICOM unity had been fractured before her comment, as St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada and Dominica had already backed Venezuela while condemning the U.S. when it released a statement under the banner of ALBA, an intergovernmental group made up of Caribbean and Latin American nations. The Prime Minister said whether CARICOM likes it or not, the U.S. has the capacity to disrupt the drug networks, and to partner with the Americans is not to undermine the Caribbean region, but to defend it. Persad-Bissessar said while people are calling for collaboration with CARICOM, it is the TNT taxpayer that is footing the bill for illegal Venezuelan migrants in the country. Kamla Persad-Bissessar said, like it or not, her government's position for the next 5 years will be Trinidad and Tobago first. The Prime Minister said thousands of citizens are being murdered, and she indicated that just yesterday, an elderly woman was sexually assaulted by someone believed to be an illegal immigrant. Persad-Bissessar said going forward, the country's foreign policy will be dictated mainly on what is in the best interest for the citizens of this country. Calling out what she deemed as the hypocrisy of Dr. Keith Rowley's condemnations, she said it was the same Keith Rowley who, as CARICOM chair, appealed for help from the U.S. to combat a flow of guns into the region. The Prime Minister said the Caribbean is on fire, engulfed by the flames of illegal drug, gun and arms trafficking. And Persad-Bissessar said she's fed up of the talk, and even efforts by CARICOM have failed to produce a solution. She believes the U.S. has now taken decisive action, and this country stands by it. The Prime Minister said the former government had no issue working with the Joe Biden administration, and if it is that the opposition and critics don't like President Donald Trump's politics and ideology, then that is their choice, and they should come out and say it. But as far as she's concerned, her government does not have to go along with their views. Meanwhile, Persad-Bissessar's backing of America has caught the attention of Venezuela's ruling party, the United Socialist Party of Venezuela. Persad-Bissessar said Trinidad and Tobago is standing by to be an American base if Venezuela invades Guyana over its claim to the Essequibo region. But the Venezuelan ruling party has called that position shameless, with its Secretary General adding that he's sure Trinidad and Tobago nationals are not proud of Persad-Bissessar's stance. Akash Samaru, CNC3 News.
The current opposition PNP in Jamaica predicts a convincing win in the upcoming September 3rd election. This TVJ News item has details.
The race is on, and according to the experts, it's too close to call. In the latest Don Anderson polls conducted between August 2 and 11, respondents were asked, if the election were called no, which party would you vote for? 35% the PNP, 34% the JLP, 14% are still not sure, and 17% of respondents say they're not planning to vote. But in an interview with TVJ News on Thursday, the PNP's Peter Bunting provided a different perspective.
At the end of the day, it's not the national polls, it's a seat by seat. And when I have visited seats that haven't been traditional battleground seats that were considered the safer JLP seats like Northeast Manchester, seats like South Trelawney, seats like Southwest St. Anne, even seats like Northwest St. Elizabeth, the response that I see there has quite frankly shocked me, because I did not know that the PNP had this underlying base of support in those constituencies.
Mr. Bunting, who's also the PNP's candidate for Southern Manchester, has been critical of the government's handling of crime. The JLP is critical of him for moving from one constituency to another after his 2020 election loss. The JLP also pulling all the stops to ensure he's defeated in the upcoming polls. JLP's leader, Dr. Andrew Holness, is confident in his candidate, Ian Ives. But for Mr. Bunting,
we have not seen a strong response to the Prime Minister's visit. I've said, he was wandering around Manchester and South Manchester in particular into the wee hours of the morning, like a lost soul, literally. It sort of gave a sort of ragtag or chaka-chaka appearance for a Prime Minister to rush into a seat the day after nomination. Clearly, it is the priority seat, and it is the sort of privileged position I'm accustomed to. I enjoyed that in 2011. And pretty much every election, the Jamaica Labour Party seems to focus on me.
Mr. Bunting is not only confident of his victory, but also the PNP's.
I would say the energy on the ground now far exceeds that in 2011 when we won 42 seats. So it would not surprise me if that's in the range of seats that we ended up with this time.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The JLP, on the other hand, intensifies its campaign in the last few days leading up to the elections. Kalisha Williams of TVJ News has more.
On Friday, the Jamaica Labour Party took its campaign activities to Hanover, seemingly a part of the party's strategy to hold on to both hotly contested constituencies in the parish.
There is a conventional thinking that there are some seats that are traditionally seats that the PNP had held, and that the pandemic would have somehow changed the voting pattern, which would lead to an anomalous situation where those seats that were traditionally held by the PNP were held now by the Jamaica Labour Party. I think that level of thinking has to be scrutinized very carefully. There is going to be some significant surprises.
For instance, the People's National Party has been looking to reclaim power in Western Hanover, which has proven to be a PNP stronghold for decades. But in 2020, the JLP's Tamika Davis broke the PNP's 30-year streak in the constituency.
There are seats that the PNP think that may come back to them, that those seats are going to be firmly rooted in the column of the Jamaica Labour Party. Because the truth is, the constituents there would have seen the work of the Member of Parliament and compare the work of the Member of Parliament to the previous PNP Members of Parliament, and would have to conclude that those MPs have worked very hard. As in Western Hanover, you would see that the MP that held the seat for the Jamaica Labour Party for 5 years would have done far more work than the PNP MP previously who held it for 30 years.
Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
Trinidad and Tobago's Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, Dr. Rudal Monelal, recently met with Grenadian officials led by Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell to discuss strengthening cooperation in the energy sector. Details in this TTT News item.
Trinidad and Tobago's energy infrastructure is open for business
and remains a feasible option for the Caribbean region to monetize its hydrocarbon resources. The assurance made by Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, Dr. Rudal Munilal, to a delegation from the government of Grenada, led by Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell. In a two-day meeting, Minister Munilal, in furthering the mandate given by Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, sought to foster collaboration with the government of Grenada in the oil and gas sector. Minister Munilal highlighted Trinidad and Tobago's well-established energy infrastructure and the extensive experience and technical knowledge the country has gained as a long-standing global hydrocarbon producer. Prime Minister Mitchell, who holds the cabinet portfolio for energy matters in Grenada, welcomed the opportunity for collaboration and expressed Grenada's commitment to deepening partnerships with Trinidad and Tobago. Grenada's Prime Minister expressed particular interest in the area of support services as the island nation is at the early stage of assessing its hydrocarbon resource potential.
The U.S. Coast Guard celebrated a historic milestone after crews unloaded over 76,140 pounds of illegal drugs, most being cocaine. WPLG Local 10 News has that story.
Well, it's always cool to be able to come out here to Port Everglades and give the Coast Guard the opportunity to show off their hard work, all of these interdictions, these drug seizures that they make to prevent these drugs from ever hitting our streets. Well, today was particularly remarkable just with the sheer amount of drugs they were able to seize. The Coast Guard sharing this video from summer interdictions that they say will lead to safer streets for South Floridians and potentially all Americans. It shows a Coast Guard crew in August interdicting a Go Fast vessel suspected of drug smuggling approximately 40 miles southwest of Haiti. Sky 10 flying over Port Everglades Monday morning, where the Coast Guard cutter Hamilton made history.
We are surging additional cutters, aircraft, and tactical law enforcement teams to the eastern Pacific Ocean to hunt down, interdict, and board these suspected smugglers, all in support of Operation Pacific Viper.
It was a good day for the good guys, the U.S. Coast Guard marking an historic milestone. Officials offloading more than 77,000 pounds of illegal narcotics at Port Everglades, the largest single drug offload in the Coast Guard's history. The massive haul seized earlier this summer by crews on board the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Hamilton. It includes more than 60 pounds of cocaine and nearly 16,000 pounds of marijuana.
Many of the interdicted vessels we are talking about left Venezuela.
Altogether, the Coast Guard reports the contraband is worth more than $473 million on the street. The Coast Guard reports the vessels are from organized crime gangs in Latin America like Tren de Aragua and Cartel de Solas.
These drugs fuel and enable cartels and transnational criminal organizations, the very same groups that are pushing fentanyl and other deadly substances to our communities.
So a good question is what happens to all of those drugs now? They are transported from here at the port to the hands of the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, of course, with a lot of security and a lot of surveillance. Reporting live from Port Everglades tonight, Syra Onwer, Local 10 News.
Venezuelans are rushing to join the Bolivarian militia after President Nicolas Maduro called for nationwide enlistment in response to U.S. pressure. In Caracas, public workers, retirees, and housewives queued in plazas, barracks, and even Miraflores Palace to register, pleading to defend their homeland. The mobilization comes as President Donald Trump deploys U.S. warships and thousands of Marines to the Caribbean, a move Washington says targets drug cartels, but which Caracas condemns as an illegal attempt at regime change. With chants of "Long live the homeland," Venezuelans signed up in droves, while tensions between Maduro and Trump continue to intensify. Here are some details in this CNN News item.
The Trump administration is aggressively stoking tensions with Venezuela and its president, Nicolas Maduro. It's leading to a situation which appears to be creating the conditions that could lead to a military confrontation between America and Venezuela. A major buildup of U.S. naval forces is currently underway outside Venezuela's waters as the Trump administration has stepped up its belligerent rhetoric about fighting drug cartels. It's also labeled Maduro a terrorist cartel leader. All that raises the question of whether the end goal of this is just to counter drug smuggling or potentially change the Venezuelan regime. The United States had a long-running feud and tried multiple times, unsuccessfully at that, to remove Maduro's predecessor, Hugo Chavez. Now, will they be successful with Nicolas Maduro?
Okay, we'll sign right here, right? Sure.
President Trump signed a secret directive last month instructing the Pentagon to use military force against some Latin American drug cartels. His administration has labeled some of these as terrorist organizations. Around the same time, the administration declared a Venezuelan criminal group, the Cartel de los Soles, or the Cartel of the Suns, was a terrorist organization and that Nicolas Maduro was its leader. It has called Maduro's government in Venezuela illegitimate.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.